Deep in Yale University's Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library, there's one book that has totally bewildered the world's brightest minds for over a century. Between its covers lies 240 pages of text written in an unknown language and bizarre, inexplicable illustrations that have no relation to one another. Hundreds, thousands of experts from all specialities have tried to solve its mystery, and all have failed. This is the Voynich Manuscript, one of history's greatest mysteries. Back in 1912, a Polish rare book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich was traveling in Italy when he stumbled upon the manuscript in a bookshop. Immediately sensing that this was an extraordinary find, he bought it for almost nothing and took it home to try and make sense of what he'd discovered. When he got home, he opened it up and found another bizarre clue. Tucked into the cover was a letter dated back to 1665, written to a Jesuit scholar. The letter claimed that the book had once belonged to Emperor Rudolph II of the Holy Roman Empire, who supposedly paid the astronomical sum of 600 gold ducats for it sometime between 1576 and 1612. But Voynich was more fascinated by the belief that even they had no idea where the book came from, who wrote it, or what any of it meant. Naturally, Voynich became obsessed and dedicated his entire life to figuring it out, but sadly, he never did. So what's inside this book that makes it so unsolvable? Well, the text inside is made up of over 170,000 characters written in an unknown script using anywhere between 20 to 30 distinct symbols. It's like no language known to mankind. In between the text, we get illustrations that are just as inexplicable, botanical drawings that don't match any known plants, astronomical diagrams with peculiar circular patterns, and bathing women connected by elaborate pipe systems. If you didn't understand the text, the image won't help you decipher anything. But that doesn't mean people won't try. In fact, throughout history, this book has drawn some of the world's biggest geniuses to try and solve its totally bizarre mysteries, and all have failed. During both world wars, professional cryptographers were drafted in. These were people who managed to break uncrackable enemy codes, and not a single one could make head or tail of what the heck was happening in the book. America's most accomplished cryptanalysts have looked at it. The NSA, computer scientists, linguists, biologists, mathematicians, quantum physicists, brain scientists, you name it, they've tried it. And not a single one has ever gotten close to understanding a single line. Which makes you wonder, is this all one big hoax? Maybe. Before we go any further, this feels like a pretty good time to remind you that if you're a history buff who loves our videos, why not like and subscribe so we can make more of them for you? So is this actually a hoax? Well, some experts have shown that you can generate completely meaningless text with just a pen and a piece of paper. And the fact that nobody throughout all of history and all disciplines found anything to hold on to seems to suggest there's nothing there. But not everybody believes that, or at least they don't want to. In fact, some people have noticed patterns in the language, repeated words, and sentence structures that seem to suggest there was some thought put into how everything was assembled. Besides, given the scale of the book, it seems pretty insane to imagine somebody way back in the 15th century would have spent so much money putting together an elaborate hoax like this. After all, the vellum and pigments alone would have cost a fortune back in the day. For a manuscript of this size and complexity produced at the time, you'd need a lot of cowhides, pigments, bindings, and by the end it would have cost around £5 to £11 sterling. In modern money, that's around $30,000 to $80,000. That's a very expensive hoax. You may have heard me say 15th century there. I'm sure you're watching this thinking, why did you assume that, you devilishly charming disembodied voice? First of all, thank you. Actually, it's one of the only educated guesses we can make about the book at all. Radiocarbon dating has placed the book as being written sometime between 1404 and 1438 AD by multiple authors. Of course, we don't know who they were, but the handwriting is significantly different enough to suggest that there were multiple minds working on this. Honestly, there are so so many theories about who could have authored the book that it's impossible to even narrow it down to the most likely source. All we know for sure is that it was written by someone in Europe who knew an awful lot about botany, astronomy, and medicine. Maybe. Now, if you're at all curious about whether or not you could be the genius who solves the mystery, Yale University published the entire manuscript online in 2020. So far, nobody's managed to crack the code, but who's to say you couldn't be the one to do the impossible? We'll put the link in the description below. Right now, we know astonishingly little about this book and its meaning, let alone its purpose. Is it all one big hoax? Is it one of the world's earliest medical journals or encyclopedias? Is it something else entirely? We have no idea, but with technology advancing, it's only a matter of time before the truth comes out. Thank you for watching. If you want to explore more of history's greatest mysteries, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss a video. Until then, please let us know in the comments your wildest Voynich Manuscript theories. What do you make of this bizarre thing? See you next time!